with Luke 9:62. Excuse me. Jesus can really be blunt sometimes. No one, after putting his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of God. You can't get much more direct than what he said there. Christianity is about forward motion. We are those people who keep growing and learning and developing. And when we have a good forward focus, it helps prevent some accidents. Because if you go around all the time looking in the rearview mirror and forget to look where you're going, it's going to get ugly. If you try to walk around looking back over your shoulder all the time, you're going to bump into some things. So the forward focus really helps us in a lot of different ways. So yesterday, sure it was heavy. Sure there's some tough things. And sometimes we just have to get to that point where we go, it's time to put it down. It's time to move on. Christ said, give us this day our daily bread. His focus was on today, right now, where we're at, right here in this spot, whatever it is we're going through. And our life is always going to be a series of ups and downs. Now, I will grant you, sometimes the ups are higher and sometimes the downs are really, really low. And when you're in those really, really tough ones, and there are, be very careful how you move forward. Keep your focus and take your time and be cautious. We don't want anyone to run kind of foolishly forward in things. So David would say, this is the day which the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Psalms 118 and verse 24. Today's the day. I can't rejoice in yesterday. I can't go back there and do stuff with yesterday. Yesterday isn't it so obvious to say it? It's over. It's done and gone. There's not a thing I can do with yesterday except learn from it and build on it, but I can't go back and change a thing about yesterday. And yet a lot of folks get kind of hung up on looking back and trying to go, well, what can I do about yesterday? Nothing. But today's your gift. And we love this gift of today so much that we all want it. I like it now and then when Brother Johnny leads a prayer. He'll thank the Lord for waking us up this morning in our right mind. And I think, oh, that's awesome because we got another day. It's another gift. Now, if you approach it right, it is a gift. It is wonderful. Some people wake up and think, oh, Lord, thank you. Other people wake up and go, oh, Lord, it's another day. And, you don't want to be that second example there. So only today can you thrive. Now, I agree, you can learn from yesterday, you can plan for tomorrow, but I can't thrive in tomorrow. I'm not there yet. And you can't thrive in yesterday because you've already left it. The only place you're going to be able to thrive is really right now, really this very minute. That's the only place you can do it. You can thrive in the process of this sermon because that's where you are right now. Or you can kind of check out and not thrive through it, just endure through it. But right now, this present moment, whatever you're doing, and take this point on through the rest of the day and the rest of the week, it's only in the present moment that you can really thrive. You can enjoy what happened in the past. You can enjoy what you anticipate coming in the future. But the only place you can thrive is right now. And if you don't figure out how to do it in the right now, then that gets pretty tough in life. So doing good today, it's the best preparation you're going to have for tomorrow. It is not wrong to plan. James talked about it in James chapter 4, around verse 17 roughly. It's okay to plan ahead. You go ahead and lay your plans out. But you understand you don't always get your plans. But if you really want a really good tomorrow, then have the best today you can have. Because today is going to be the stepping stone for tomorrow. Today is going to be the foundation for tomorrow. And if perhaps you can pick up a little piece of knowledge, a little understanding, something that helps you see life a little better today, and it doesn't have to be totally profound, just a little something, one more piece of the puzzle coming together, I just set you up for a better tomorrow. And that, of course, I think is something that we all want. So basically, rule of thumb, forgive the past. Let it go. It happened. You can't go back and change it. The things that happened were real. No, I'm not trying to say deny the past. I'm just trying to say, do you know somebody who was had a rough childhood, for example? Now, you can fill the blanks in there any way you want to. And it was tough. It really was. And now they're 25. They're not a kid any longer. And they're still dragging that baggage with them. Or they're 35, 45, 55, 65. And they're still dragging that baggage with them. Still looking for some sympathy. Still looking for a pat on the back. Still trying to get something out of it. There's no way. It doesn't work that way. The past is the past. You got to forgive it and trust God to handle it. And it's kind of funny. You get far enough down the road, some of us over 60, and you go all the way back and think about your childhood and some of the things that happened wrong. That teacher that was so mean to you back in the third grade, what are you going to do about that? Chances are she's long dead. You going to write her a letter? You going to challenge her on it? You can't do anything about it. Maybe that bully that picked on you in the third grade, he may be dead. He may live on the other side of the world, have forgotten you existed. Here you are, dragging that memory around. Say, look, let it go. God handle it. God will take care of it. You need to take care of you right here in the present. So all I want you to do is to take today and make it the best foundation you can make it for tomorrow. Live a really good today. Be intent, be deliberate, be as premeditated about it as you can. And then I want you to do something really scary. If you get tomorrow, I want you to live a really good today tomorrow. And then when you get to the end of the tomorrow, I want you to go, man, I've lined 2 of those up in a row. That's really cool. Wonder if I can get 3 in a row. And go for 3 in a row. See how many you can get. Now, I understand life's going to throw you some curves and you're not always going to get them. But here's the way we do it. We focus here in the present. This is the day the Lord has made. This is where we are. This is the only place we can thrive. So you don't look back because you're not going that way. Lot's wife, she got in trouble, right? Because she looked back. Was she just looking back to see what was happening? That's not the issue, is it? She was looking back because she hated to leave. It was the longing in her heart. It was the sadness she felt for all that she was being separated from. She didn't want to go forward. She wanted to go back. Don't look back, because it's so obvious again, but you got to say it. You can't. It's impossible. You cannot go back. It's kind of fun in science fiction, but you're not going back. So it's not the memories that you have about the past that are bad. Have your memories, and I hope you focus on the joyful ones and what have you. The problem we get into is when we start longing for the good old days. And I just love some of the old timers used to say, they talk about the good old days. And I said, my mama don't miss the good old days because she's driving the Cadillac and she gets to go have her hair done and she's got central heat in the grocery store. You go back far enough to the so-called good old days, you were getting up before sunlight to milk the cow. How many of you want to go there? And be careful when you get to talking about the good old days and fantasizing how wonderful life was back in the 1800s before we had TV and internet and everybody had a cell phone. Because it's a lie. It was hard back then. I don't even know how to put a saddle on a horse, let alone how to hook it up to a wagon. You know what that means? I got to walk everywhere I go or learn how to deal with livestock. I'd rather deal with putting my key in the ignition. And we got so fancy in some of them, we just get in the vehicle and push the button. How many of you started your car before you got out of the house this morning so it'd be warm when you got in it? Yeah, I don't want them good old days. Here's what Egypt did. Exodus 16:3. They've been released from slavery. Oh, they wanted out of slavery. Oh, they were crying to get out of slavery. And now they got into a rough time after they've been out because of their own ignorance. And they said, only if we had died by the Lord's hand in the land of Egypt when we sat by pots of meat, when we ate bread until we were full. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this entire assembly. Now they had been begging and moaning and whining and pleading to get out of Egypt. Moses comes, gets them out. They're not too far out. And the thing they want to do is go right back to where they couldn't wait to get out of. How did that happen? Because they weren't looking forward to the promised land. They were starting to look back at a fantasy of how good it used to be. And the past memories are deceptive, and you got to be really, really careful about them. I know you've all had this experience. You're at the family reunion, the class reunion or something, and one of your siblings is talking about how wonderful it was growing up or how tough it was growing up, whatever they said, and you're like, I don't remember that. What family did you grow up in? And you grew up in the same place. You had the same experience. But because of what we'll do in here, one put a happy, positive definition on it. The other put a poor, pitiful me, life stinks definition on it. And the reality is both are true. We had wonderful times in childhood, and we had some hard times in childhood. Don't let your mind play tricks on you and exaggerate it either way. Your past is going to be your foundation for a great future, or it's going to be a burden you drag around for the rest of your life. It's your choice. Isn't that kind of wicked? I mean, that's actually a little bit scary. You mean it's all on me? Yes, I mean it's all on you. Viktor Frankl went through 2 or 3 different concentration camps during World War II. Survived them. One of the lucky survivors. Got out, got his head together. His most popular book is called Man's Search for Meaning. I recommend it as a read. And he just kind of takes you through the concentration camps and his experience, and then some, let's call it life value lessons applications. And it's a short read and still popular book. Other people came through the same experience and thought their life was over and drug the pain and the agony and the misery with them to their grave. What was the difference? He was in 3 different camps. It was what was between his ears. And that's it. You can either have your past be a foundation and build something good on it, or you can whine and cry all the way to the tombstone. And nobody gets to make the choice for you but you. So the present, it's your step forward. Today is not a mistake. Today is God's plan. And what you're going to do is you're going to enjoy it if you're smart. You're going to savor it when you sit around the table with family and friends. Enjoy that moment. Really be present with it and connect with those people, because they may not be there tomorrow. You just never know. You don't know how many tomorrows you have. But I do know that right now we have this moment, this time, and this is the connection. And in relationships, let me add this little tidbit. We'll call it a sprinkle. In every relationship, 90+%, if not more, of the relationship is the conversation. Let that soak in a moment. You're riding in the car, your wife's sitting next to you, ain't neither one of you talking to each other. You never talk to each other. There's no relationship there. The relationship's in the conversation. You got a grandkid, never calls you, grandkid never drops by, never says hello. There's no relationship. What if they do drop by? It's the conversation, isn't it? You got friends that you really connect with? Think about it. Why do you really connect? Because you talk. The relationship is the conversation. It's a good little sprinkle. I like that one. So, life is what passes you by while you're waiting for life to start. Think about that one a second. This is profound, because right now, what are you doing? Right now, this very second, as I stand here and talk to you, I am living my life. And as you sit there in the pew and you listen to me, you are literally living the very substance of your life. There is no other life. But if you're sitting there and you're thinking, boy, when my life starts, you miss the whole thing. And if I'm thinking, boy, when my life starts, I'm going to whatever, I'm missing it. This is life. And sitting around with dinner today, that's life. And if you take an afternoon Sunday nap, which I kind of recommend, that's life. This is what it is. And there's going to be some really high points, and you're going to really, really like those. You're going to think, oh, this is living. No, this is all living. And there are going to be some really, really hard times that break your heart and leave you wondering where it's all going. That's life too. It's all life. Every second, every moment, is life. And that's all you got right now is right now. So it's your attitude and your perspective in the right now that's going to make all the difference. And it does make all the difference because it's your attitude that decides where you go. So that's what they tell me anyway. They say a plane has an attitude. It's got an attitude that's coming down. It's got an attitude that's going up. It's the attitude that decides where it's going. And so if you have the right attitude, then your trajectory, almost got it out, is going to be good. If you don't have a good attitude, you're going to crash. Your perspective, what you're looking at, how you're defining the past, makes all the difference. And it's real interesting because you do have liberty in how you define the past. So, story goes, farmer working a farm, has 7 sons, and they're working hard. Somebody says to him, you don't have to work a farm that hard to raise a farm. And the man says, I'm not raising a farm, I'm raising 7 sons. Daddy was hard on him because he knew what he was doing. He was raising sons. Now, here's the question. A son can come through that tough training of a tough dad, and a lot of us had tough parents or a tough somebody in our life. And we can go, that just wasn't fair. They weren't kind. They were mean. And we can carry that in a bitter, hateful tone and let it drag that venom throughout our life to the day we die. Or we can go, boy, Grandpa was hard because he wanted me to be the best I could be. Grandma was tough on me. But she knew that life was tough and only tough people are really going to thrive. Now, same situation. You get to decide. You can be a whiner, victim, your choice. Or you want to feel like you were trained under some of the best. Your call. You get the perspective, and it makes all the difference. So if you're wrestling with something in the past that was not fair, and it wasn't, probably you're right. Go back and see if you can't redefine it. And see, So let me do it real quick. A little bit of a personal story. I'll keep it polite. My mama was a mess. And my mama wasn't the best mama on the planet. My mama did some things that weren't good judgment. And now as an adult, I look back and go, she was trying to manage 4 kids. And I was the wildest of the 4. You never know where I was going. And she wasn't getting the support she ought to have got from the man she was connected with. And now in my adulthood, I look back on that and go, Mama did the best she could do in the situation she was in with the equipment she had. Time to redefine it. That's what I'm talking about. You get to pick your perspective. You pick it and you live with it. I would rather pick a perspective that makes it easier to live with than being a victim the rest of my life. Ecclesiastes 3:1 is going to tell me there's an appointed time for everything. There is a time for every matter under heaven. And the only time I'm going to experience that, of course, is today. And God's going to work in all the ordinary days, just the old regular mundane days. That's where He's at work. That's where you want to learn to see it. That's why I've been emphasizing in part Colossians 3:23 so much lately. Whatever you do, do it heartily as unto the Lord, because He's in everything. There's nothing that you go, oh, that really doesn't count. That's not important. No, it's all important. Matthew 12:36-37 says, every idle word you speak, you'll give account of in the day of judgment. Verse 37 says, for by your words you will be condemned or justified. It all counts. It's all life, right here, right now. And the focus on here. And make the best step you can right here, right now. Leads you to a better position for the next step. So we're going to walk with God. We're going to plan, but we know we don't have absolute control because life comes along. Comes along for a lot of us. There were folks that planned on being here today. They're not here today. Why not? Because the bug got them. That's the way it works. Life throws you some curves. You don't always get what you want to get. Sometimes you go out to start your car, battery's dead, tire's flat, and you go, oops, I got to make some different plans today. Your life just doesn't unfold like we plan. Now, when it does, that's totally cool. Enjoy those times where it did unfold, but don't get spoiled by it. Don't get so spoiled that you think, well, it's supposed to always turn out the way I want it to turn out. Then it doesn't turn out the way you want it to turn out. And then you go, oh, God doesn't like me. God loves you like crazy. But those he loves, he disciplines. Go read Hebrews chapter 12 and you'll get the point I'm making. So how do we focus in a way that honors God? I want to walk with God, and I want God to be honored by the way I'm dealing with everything. Every little situation, every little encounter, every communication, somehow, even though it is extremely trivial in the big picture, needs to be honoring God. That's what we do. We seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, right? So if you're going out to eat, your interaction with the wait staff, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Now, I'm not saying if they bring you the wrong thing, you have to sit there and eat it. But I am saying that when you say, excuse me, miss or sir, that's not what I ordered. You're polite and you're considerate and you're practicing the golden rule. If I was the wait staff and I brought somebody the wrong plate, how would I want to be treated? Okay. That's how we're going to walk with God. And then we're going to have our plans, but I like this little phrase, hold your plans loosely, because you're not going to get them all the time. Yes, plan. I'm an advocate. I think you should plan. I support that idea. But you got your 5-year plan, and in 5 years or 10 years, we're going to be X, Y, Z? Maybe. That's a long time to plan. You might not get those years yourself. Or the people you thought were going to be there with you all those years might not be there. Or the economy that you thought would be there all those years won't be there. I mean, things are going to change. We're talking about some big things that you have no control over. So you go ahead and plan, but keep them in pencil. In case you need to erase something and change it, a little chalkboard might be an easier way to do it. Your ultimate success is about aligning everything you do with God. This is all about God. This is about being holy as God is holy. So we're going to muster faith in the moment, whatever that moment is. Just had a flat. How are you going to behave? Now you go, wait a minute, preacher, that's silly. No, that's not silly. How many people you know that had a flat and it ruined their day? All they could talk about is that flat. Back when the tires started going, they started saying words I can't repeat in the pulpit. Wait a minute, it was just a flat. Yeah, it can be that. But you have a flat, somebody runs their turn at the four-way stop, somebody doesn't stop at the red light. But you be real careful of those red lights. You be sure everybody stops before you get out there in the intersection. Because even though you got the right of way, if they didn't stop, you still got a wreck. That'll mess up your day, won't it? So whatever's happening, you're going to muster faith in the moment. You may not be responsible for everything that happens to you, but you are responsible for how you respond to it. And so that's where your focus is going to be. I didn't mean for this to happen, but I'm a Christian. How would a Christian handle this? We're going to go through some dark valleys. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you're with me. They're there. You don't get to plan them all the time. Sometimes you get a little head notice. Sometimes you get no notice at all. Your forward motion is not always going to be nice and smooth and comfy. Sometimes it's going to feel like all 4 tires went flat. And yet you're going to press on toward the goal for the prize, the upward call of Christ Jesus. Is what we do. Paul now here in Philippians 3:14, most speculate he's really near the end of his life, and he's still in his 60s pressing on the upward way. He's still saying, I got some ground to cover. Sure, he's got a lot of stuff behind him this whoop, but it's about today. It's about today planning to make it the best step for tomorrow. So trials are going to be our learning thing, and that's where you really need to learn. So let's take it back to just you sitting in this auditorium right now. What's running through your head? Okay, if you're really connected with the lesson, you get 5 stars. If you're sitting there going, I think he's got about 10 minutes to go. I can't wait to get out of here because I got to go, fill in the blank. There's something to learn from that. You're in the middle of a trial right now. You're someplace you really, really don't want to be. Now, if you're really, really where you want to be, then your heart's not watching the clock. Some preachers call those CWs, clock watchers. And so you need to get into that trial, whatever it is, and figure out what's going on, use it as a stepping stone for growth. But it's all in the right here, right now. And if you just endure it and then run away from it, then you miss the opportunity to have a stepping stone. So you're always looking for the lesson in life and in today. And let me tell you that one of these lessons is just going to be the mundaneness of life. That's what life is. Got to kiss my wife when the preacher said, "You may now kiss the bride." I've kissed her more times than I can count. It's mundane, or is it exciting? What do you think? It just depends on your relationship, doesn't it? If you're still in love with her, it's still exciting. If you're like, it's not. Now you need to find the lesson. What went wrong? Look for the lessons. Dig in there in the triviality of life. And don't lose heart. And this is just the pilgrimage. That's all it is. So I want you to be patient. Growth is going to take time. You're not going to grow real quick. It's going to work itself out over a long course of time. Let us not lose heart in doing good, for in time we'll reap if we do not grow weary. So how long does it take a tree to grow? It takes a long time. Even these super fast growing trees that grow pretty quick, they don't grow in a day. They don't grow in a week. They don't grow in a month. Now, granted, they grow some pretty fast pines out there for the paper industry, but it still takes some years for those trees to get to where they need to be. If you want hardwood, you're going to be taking some years. How long does it take to get to be 75 years old? A long time. It takes 75 years. You don't get to be 50 until you've done 50 years. Growing takes time. And you have to be patient. You have to be consistent. You really need to be engaged with it and working it that little imperceptible step almost, because you're not going to get fast food enlightenment. And so Facebook, I like the thing where they flash back the old memories. And yesterday, day before, it flashed back a memory. 10 years ago, somebody who's sitting on the front pew was just 3, had a toy chainsaw, and was going to cut down Grammy's Christmas tree. And I look at that and I go, how cute is that? You know, we filmed it. We thought it was so precious. How did he get as tall as me? It didn't happen in one leap, did it? It happened at an imperceptive cellular level, one day after another, after another, after another. And it's going to keep happening at that rate. How did you get to be the age you are? The exact same slow, imperceptible way. People go to the gym. They give one workout. They go, I didn't see anything come out of it, so I didn't go back. Are you an idiot? Sorry. How long does it take to build physical health? You don't do it in one workout. Well, I tried a diet. I didn't eat anything I shouldn't for one day. Didn't lose anything, so I quit. No, it takes time. It takes a lot of time to grow and develop. So no fast food, not anywhere in life. You want a great marriage? You work on it every single day. Little bitty imperceptible things. I was teasing Sharon today because we got the remote start on the van. Excuse me, her vehicle. We're not supposed to call it a van. On the Murano, so that she can warm up before she gets out there. So I went through all the grueling drudgery. I punched 2 buttons to start the van. Then I told her about it. Actually, I bragged about it. Hey, started your vehicle for you. It's so easy to be a hero nowadays. I said, but I really did it for the Lord. Well, they said nurture and cherish her as your own body. How much easier can it get than start the band with, yeah, anyway. So, no fast food. It's those little bitty imperceptible, little courtesies, little things that nobody's really going to pay attention to, but over a course of years, they add up. And a couple will grow closer and closer and closer and closer together over time, or they'll slowly drift apart. And rarely is it going to be one big super event. It can be, but rarely will it be. Normally, the growth I'm talking about, closer or further, is just selfishness, neglect, just, I ain't got time for you. I'm busy doing other stuff. No, that's the most important person in your life right there. That's the one you give priority. So, growth. It's about each little bitty step of the journey. And so you're going to embrace each mundane little step. And I can't overemphasize mundane enough, because I think that's really I know it's where the most of the substance of life is. And that's really where hearts are going to connect more than we realize. And so we trust God's overall plan. He said, look forward. Don't look back. You don't be looking back like Lot's wife. You put your hand to the plow, you keep looking forward where you're supposed to go. And it's so popular to say, God woke you up this morning. He's not finished with you yet. Keep looking forward. And by looking forward, I don't mean just next week. You go ahead and plan. I mean, look forward to the next hour. What are you getting ready to do? We're getting ready to close. Where are you going to eat? Eating with somebody that's a friend, your mate? How are you going to treat that person for the next hour? That's what I'm talking about. Look forward. Don't look so far down the road it doesn't make good practical sense. Next hour, next 30 minutes, next 2 hours, this evening, look forward. Keep looking forward right now, today. But don't get caught up in looking back. So we're getting ready to sing, Are You Washed in Blood? And that is the beginning point. That's where we put on Christ. That's where we become a new creation. And we get a whole new start at a spiritual level. If you hadn't got that new start, if you hadn't put Christ on in baptism, our baptistry is ready. We're here to help however we can. While together we stand and sing.